Kids can be absolutely hilarious, and sometimes their answers can take an unexpected turn. Wait until you see some of the funniest kids test answers ever, including ones that were so full of attitude, we seriously wonder what their teachers did after reading it. Do you know the correct answer to these? Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to never miss another video again. Now, let's check out 20 most hilarious kids test answers that made even the teacher laugh. The strongest force on earth. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. This kid is either super funny or totally in love. For extra credit, they had to answer what the strongest force on earth was, and of course, they answered that it was love. Unfortunately, the teacher didn't agree with them, but we'd definitely give them that extra credit. If nothing else, they deserved it for making their answer go viral. And in case you're wondering, the strongest force on earth is called strong nuclear. However, overall, there are 4 strongest fundamental interactions that operate on Earth, including electromagnetic, weak nuclear, and gravitational. Not only will you get to laugh today, we'll also give you all the right answers. I like to move it. This looks like it was a simple English lesson. The person had to brainstorm verbs and write down what they like to do with their friends and family to practice using verbs in a sentence. But this kid seemed to have a better idea. You're welcome, because the I Like to Move It song will now be stuck in your head for the rest of your day. To be fair, this was a totally hilarious answer, and we hope they managed to get an extra point or at least make the teacher laugh. They definitely deserved it for their amazing creativity. Here's an extra point for us because we like to move it too. Amazing excuse. Sometimes you just don't know the answer to the question because you haven't studied or for whatever other reason. This kid was supposed to explain how the nitrogen atom in the upper atmosphere becomes useful to an archaeologist trying to determine the age of a bone. Instead of answering, this student gave an impressive excuse and says that they didn't go over this problem when they were studying and didn't pay attention in class. But they don't stop there. They continue to say that they don't even like science, but they do like the teacher and they hope this won't ruin their friendship. Then they asked for some dating advice. We're pretty sure this kid was sent to the principal's office after this. Plant cell. This child was told to draw a plant cell and identify its most important parts. If you don't know what a plant cell is, you'd be confused too. It seems like this kid skipped class on the day they learned about plant cells and decided to take the assignment literally. It's a plant in an actual cell that has no windows and iron bars. In case you're wondering, a plant cell looks like this and comes with several important parts like the cell wall, vacuole, chloroplast, and nucleus. All those parts are essential to the function of the plants. Although we're pretty sure we prefer this kid's answer to that question. Abraham Lincoln. Although this wasn't a test, it did make us giggle. This child was asked to think about living in the same time as Abraham Lincoln. He also had to say what he'd tell him. While most people would love to get advice on the country and culture, this child had a totally different answer that would actually save Abraham Lincoln, at least for some time. The kid gave advice that he should never attend any kinds of plays ever. Who knows? Perhaps this advice would actually keep Abraham Lincoln alive and history would be changed forever. Forgetting. Sometimes kids' test answers are just so clever, we really hope they got an extra credit for it. Brian was told to describe what it meant by forgetting something, but his answer wasn't the typical one. All Brian said was that he can't remember, and to be honest, he's right. That is, in fact, the description of forgetting something. Of course, the real answer would be something like not being able to recall the memories in your brain. But honestly, we like Brian's straight-to-the-point answer better. We're not seeing any extra credit or a tick next to his answer, but we do hope this teacher had a good laugh after reading Brian's answer. Eye of Sauron. This physics class just got 10 times better. This child had to draw a graph to explain what happens upon impact when we wear a seatbelt or when we don't wear a seatbelt in the car. It looks like this was all a piece of cake for this kid, and he ended up with extra time, so they decided to draw the Eye of Sauron. Clearly, this teacher is a total Lord of the Rings fan because they knew how dangerous it was to draw something like that. Or maybe they were just upset that the kid didn't take their test seriously enough. Well played, Alex. Well played. How do you know? Sometimes, teachers want us to show our thinking by explaining how we came up with our answers. This kid had to answer questions like how many days there are in a week, how many months are in a year, and whether the number 68 is an even number or an odd number. Of course, their answers were all correct, but when they were asked how they know that 68 is an even number, the kid replied with a simple answer, because they're smart. Well, they're not wrong, but it looks like the teacher didn't want to put up with any of the attitude and provided them with the right answer instead. Shape of the graph. This is a typical graph you normally see in a physics class, and it represents the relation between mass and time. Through these graphs, students are able to read off specific measurements and make a calculation of other functions, depending on the question. But this student definitely didn't understand the assignment. Instead of describing the shape of the graph by stating that the mass reduces the time, they described the graph literally. We love that the student thought the slope was rather aesthetically pleasing, which is true. Of course, that's not the right answer, but they deserve extra credit for this thorough essay. today: communism. Get ready, because these answers are going to get even funnier and more creative. We're not sure whether or not this person got an extra credit for their answer, but they definitely should. This child was asked to describe a situation where people share something and everyone benefits from it, and from what it looks like, this was a chemistry question. This kid must have paid attention during history classes, because they said the answer is communism. Of course, we all know communism works only on paper, because there's always someone out there that's greedier than others. So this kid should definitely get at least half a point for their answer. Ninja. Sometimes it might surprise you how easy it is to get extra points with certain teachers. This kid thought of a brilliant idea. Not only did they already get 28 out of 30 points on their exam, this ninja brought them 2 extra points. This kid wrote that the ninja prevents the teacher to give a grade that's lower than 100%, and the teacher definitely listened and awarded them with 2 extra points. If only all teachers were able to joke like that and award points for creativity. On the other hand, this also means that tests aren't all about knowing everything. Sometimes your drawing skills can save your grade. Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey is definitely known for her whistle tones, but is she able to produce the highest frequency noise? This kid sure seems to think so. We wonder if Mariah Carey ever saw this answer, because quite frankly, this is one of the best compliments ever. While it's true that Mariah Carey's high notes can even compare to a dolphin's pitch, the answer to this question is a little bit different. The highest frequency a human can register goes from 20 Hz up to 20,000 Hz, depending on the person's age and plenty of other factors. In case you're wondering, Mariah Carey's highest note has a frequency of an impressive 3,300 Hz. Evolution. This kid was asked to describe 2 evidences for evolution. But instead of giving the right answer, the kid draws something that could be considered a de-evolution. They also state that they studied this and still forgot it, and then drew a smurf pointing to a brain, saying it's all the brain's fault. The correct answer would be fossil evidence, which were first discovered in the 17th century. Another evidence of evolution would be similar characteristics in related organisms. Unfortunately, this explanation doesn't include smurfs pointing at brains, but we have to admit this was a hilarious answer. Hope they get credit for their creative side. Tracy. We're pretty sure this teacher's blood started to boil after reading this answer. This kid was given a mathematical question, but their answer turned into something every feminist had a problem with. The child was supposed to resolve why Tracy's answers are wrong by giving an example of the calculation process. But this child wasn't having any of that. Instead, they wrote their own reasoning why Tracy was wrong, because she's a woman. We hope this kid got a few minus points and a word with their teacher for this answer, because we definitely have a few questions for them. Or maybe this kid should participate in the event suggested in our next test answer: Hunger Games. This kid seems to be a huge fan of Suzanne Collins and the Hunger Games franchise. Although it's true that the question itself is pretty bizarre, this answer seems to be on point for any fan of the Hunger Games. The kid was asked to provide the best solution for overpopulation and support it with arguments. Of course, a better answer would be to spread awareness and providing universal access to birth control devices. But this child seems to think having a real-life Hunger Games would solve the issue. To be fair, even though the solution is definitely not humane, the kid has a point. Name them. When asked to name the quadrilaterals, Hope took that question literally. It definitely happens more than you think, but it also provides us with some of the most hilarious kids' test answers ever. There are 6 types of quadrilaterals out there. There's a rectangle, a parallelogram, a rhombus, a square, a trapezoid, and a kite. Those names can also be found on the right side of the question. But according to Hope, the quadrilaterals have a different name. They're called Bob, Sam, Teddyson, Kate, and Harry. We bet the teacher had a laugh with this one, but we also hope that Hope knows the actual names to those quadrilaterals. A+ for creativity. Sometimes teachers do end up giving extra credit for creativity, and we absolutely love it when it happens. This is one of our favorite exams of all time. Even though this kid got an F, they got an A+ for creativity. According to them, Napoleon died in his last battle. The Declaration of Independence was signed on the bottom of the page. The main reason for divorce is marriage, and the main reason for exams is failure. They're not wrong, but according to their teacher, they're clearly not right either. We agree that they definitely deserve an A+ for creativity, even though their answers aren't correct. Treasure. Sometimes kids like to take a risk with their answers, but other times they're just pointing out the obvious. It makes us wonder if we're actually overthinking stuff and the answers to complicated questions are much more simple. This child was asked to guide Davy Bones the dog to his treasure. The problem was, the test didn't even specify that the dog should be guided through the treasure, so technically, this kid didn't even do anything wrong. They simply connected the dog to the treasure without bothering to go through the complicated maze. It's the simplest way to solve any kind of problem, and we definitely love this answer. Freeloader. When Frankie was asked how she earns money at home, she replied that she doesn't. It makes sense, right? Judging by her handwriting, Frankie is probably too young to work outside of doing regular house chores, but she also replied with that she doesn't earn money because she's a freeloader, which is absolutely hilarious. A freeloader is a person who takes advantage of others' generosity without giving anything in return, which is basically exactly what kids are. But what's even more hilarious is that the kids know what the word freeloader means in the first place. This is definitely one of our top hilarious kids test answers. Math. But nothing beats kids who are able to write down an answer that challenges authority. We've seen quite a few of those in this video, but this is one of our favorites. We have no idea who this kid is, but we'd love to meet them. They knew that the difference between 180 and 158 is 22, which seems to be pretty obvious. But when asked how they got to their answer, the kid didn't use calculations to support their argument. They just said that they got the answer by using math, which is definitely correct. They really do deserve at least one extra point for their clever answer. Which answer was your favorite? Let us know in the comments. And that's it for our video. For more videos like this one, check out 20 toys no kid would want to receive on Christmas. See you next time!